Greetings, God bless, and welcome back. So, I have mentioned in past videos how certain influencers like Anomaly, Micro, Mike Adams, and Peggy Hall have commented how entry level workers aren't taking, how there's so many jobs available and entry level workers are being lazy. They've gone on welfare because they're not working entry level jobs. Now, three of those people, Mike Adams, Peggy Hall, and Anomaly, know that the past 2.5 years has been a terrible situation with having to suffocate at work, having to be threatened with putting things in their bloodstream. So they should know better. And I just heard a statistic last week that there's been like 80% new businesses. So that is where all the good entry level workers have gone. They're not all on welfare. It is not easy to get on welfare. The government does not make it, unless you're an illegal immigrant, then of course, you get everything. You even don't have to have injections. So, anyways, I just shame on insulated, um, you know, protected, privileged people who are bashing those that are not going to suffer in terrible jobs. Entry level jobs are not protected by OSHA, even though you assume they are. If you like, and the thing is, these people, these influencers who are complaining about not enough people in doing entry level work, they would never make it. They would never make it past like 4 hours because entry level work is an Olympic effort. It is torture. You're dealing with crap from the customers, and then you're dealing with an unregulated, unhealthy work environment. Just technically, you have all this loud noise. 170 hertz or whatever the frequency is. You're having to listen to crazy loud noise all the time. There's probably harsh chemicals, there's fluorescent light, there's Wi-Fi zapping you, and other electromagnetics. You don't have good tools, and workplaces do not give you the best tools because they do not staff adequately even before the lockdowns. Employers are like, we're going to extract beyond squeezing every little bit of life out of you. I mean, they like when I started enter the workforce, there would be like somebody who would be working the front desk, and that was their job. And there would be somebody who was doing like the accounting, and then there was somebody who was doing the office management or whatever. And now it's like one person is doing three jobs. That's how businesses are making money, and yet the executives, I bet the executives' wages went up. Their salaries probably went up because they're like, so one person's doing three persons job, they should be getting compensated. But it's and what I notice is that the person who really brings value is that entry level person. It's going to be the gas station attendant or the grocery store clerk or the grocery stocker, or the person who's stocking the shelves, or just that person who's making it possible, who opens the stores that the customer can make the purchase. And I really think, support local. Stop subsidizing Amazon. We know how bad Amazon is. I mean, Amazon is probably even worse than other places. But so the people who showed up 3 years ago and we relied on, who gave us our coffee, who made it possible to make purchases for our groceries, even if they weren't the most cheerful people, like the situation, stop bashing these entry. They're like, I'm going to do the gig economy. I'm going, if because managers, employers we're not protecting entry level employees. They threw them under the bus. They're like, oh well, we get to control your medical choices. We get to control your biology. We get to control if you get to breathe oxygen. That is unacceptable. That is inhumane, and nobody stood up to it. Very few people. I'm the only one I know that in person that stood up against any of this. And all of the other people I know that are about medical freedom um, and the spirituality of breathing, um, like they're the only person that they know. It's just very few and far between that you meet people who uh, support the Constitution, that support the Declaration of Independence. Like we have God given rights, one of which is to breathe, another of which is to choose what penetrates our skin. Um, so, anyways, I just wanted to say no, the people that you relied on for your coffee and your convenience, they are not all taking drugs, smoking dope, and getting drunk and on welfare. No, they have, they're supporting their families and their lives just like you are. See, that's the thing that really upsets me about these influencers bashing entry level workers. These influencers would never be caught working at a gas station or a grocery store or any of the places that they're judging. They're like, well, the little people, the inconsequential people, they should be filling those jobs. They would never, like, the influencers would never do those jobs, and they would be offended at doing those jobs, at having to do those jobs. But they expect other people to show up and do these horrible jobs in bad conditions where there is no protection. Like a lot of sheltered privileged people I know, they just assume there's the human rights office is going to protect. No, the number one, like when I was in Montana and I contacted the human rights office about something, they were like, you think we're about human rights? No. Like there's, like, everything's been infiltrated. Things are not as they seem. And places that promote, oh, we help you with these 30 things. No, they're only helping you with whatever they get a certain amount of funding for, and it's usually some agenda, like signing up for more Medicaid Part C or something like that. Big pharma kind of a thing. So even though, like, you'll look at the directory of resources in your city and you're like, oh, look, there's all these things. If you actually call them and ask them and spend a little time, you discover that there's not really resources. That's why there's so many abandoned elderly people or children that are suffering in the system, or homeless people that are seriously mentally ill and disruptive. It's because there's no infrastructure, and I believe it's deliberate. I believe this is engineered because when there's a constant crisis, it keeps everybody off balance, and people will be like, okay, I'll pay more taxes, let's do a bond for this new building or whatever. And those funds never are used for the right, never used to solve the situation, because the constant crisis, serves the city. It serves the Satanists who are controlling the local area, it seems to me, because I've been to a lot of different cities and I'm like, like there's these, it's a different flavor of a problem. I would say Denver is probably the worst, just like where there's screaming and clearly mentally ill people. Like, it's bedlam. It's bedlam walking around. It's like walking around a mental institution. Here, I mean, people in 0-degree weather, no shoes, and that hurts. It hurts, at least me. Like, and I mentioned it to some locals, and they don't blink an eye. They're like, yeah, okay, there's somebody walking in 0-degree weather without shoes, and and um, I just can't believe, and these are nice people that I'm talking to. It's just like, um, I'm speechless. There's like, I've always lived in major cities because I never learned how to drive, so I tend to be in walkable areas, and of course that's where the homeless people tend to go. Uh, and the homeless people I've seen, the addicts I've seen, that were homeless, yeah, they're dysfunctional, they're weird, you know, the fire trucks are always picking up and taking them away or something like that. But to see people shoeless in 0-degree weather, often like people without clothes on, uh, I don't know, just Denver takes it to another level. And I grew up in New York City, terrible, creepy stuff I've seen there too. But I think it's February 2023, and I think this anarchy is cultivated, and I think it serves an agenda because there are other cities that have taken care of homelessness, that have mental illness, that have fentanyl and other drugs, uh, and have somehow adjusted it. And I think it also has to do with housing and, you know, um, just like I think that makes a difference if there's a place that somebody, that's poor, uh, can afford to live, single occupancy units at least, but not where it becomes like some crazy den of iniquity where it's just drug dealing and prostitution. But there's just something up with like at least Denver. So I'm going to just leave that at that. But my point is with entry level workers, they will relocate if you are a major city, whatever, Arkansas or Wyoming or whatever. If you have if you have a gas station or whatever, grocery store, and you have reasonable housing, because that's the thing, is every place is trying to be like Silicon Valley. Every And I'm talking about flyover cities. They're like in South Dakota, in Iowa, they're just thinking their apartments are worth, $2,000 or $1,500 in the middle of nowhere. Okay, like if you're in Seattle or New York, I could see, um, and that's another thing. Like New York, apparently the average amount of money people make is supposedly $4,000 a month. I haven't known people that made that much, but and yet rent is like $6,000 or something like that. Like it's weird because they expect you to make three times the rent, but who makes $12,000 a month, or who makes it's just like, so landlords are, they're just like jacking up the price. They're like, I'm going to just charge it. And the thing is, from what I understand about this housing crisis, is that landlords still make money even when they're not renting out. I don't know if it's like taxes or insurance or something like that, but I have heard that international investors purchase property and warehouse them. They don't even rent it out. They have no intention of renting it out. So the point is that if you have all these jobs available, but the housing market, like nobody can afford to rent or buy, nobody's going to work there. And especially now, views of this mentality that you have to suffocate when we say you suffocate. You have to put things into your bloodstream when we say you have to put things into your bloodstream. It's inhumane. The Especially entry level work situations, it's inhumane. And then you have to worry, is my you know am I offending people with the entry level? I just cannot believe. um I am so grateful to people who are, even if they're not even very, violate their bodies in ways that I wouldn't. It's a rape. It's a medical rape when you don't think you need something in your bloodstream, but somebody says, "I got to put it in you." It's totally patriarchal, actually. It's like the worst of patriarchy. It's to provide you your convenience. That is my point. They're not all lazy jerks, that are drinking and drugging. Not to say that the past few years of the lockdowns and this mentality, this divisive, hateful mentality that's been going on, I'm sure that has amplified abuse and addiction and alcoholism. I'm sure people are divided and isolated now more than ever. So I'm not saying that hasn't happened, but I just learn that there's a lot more small businesses that people have started, and of course with the gig economy, when you have like control over when you get to go to the bathroom and when you get to have a snack and when you get to take a break, you get to do your laundry during the day. Of course, it's a million times better quality of life than somebody who has to suffer through working at your coffee shop or your grocery store or your gas station. So we get what we deserve, and we have totally abandoned entry level workers. We have not stood up for them, and instead we've applauded the government or the hospitals who do not have our interests at heart. So, you know, be grateful, be thankful to those entry level workers, because I think they are basically doing like they are just serving humanity. They are basically volunteering because rents are crazy. People are not paid enough to make a living wage, including car payments and gas. So, people who are working are on a very tough margin, very thin margin. And I think employers are just assuming that parents are going to help the employees make it ends meet, or grandparents or something like that. And that's crazy. But I think that's or they're thinking that the entry level employee should, like Walmart, go to welfare or something like that. And that's like insane. It's insane because welfare is hell. It's not a good. They don't want people to access services, and they make it very difficult. And it's just not. And especially now, like with this whole surveillance state. So be grateful, be thankful, like value that entry level worker, and give that entry level worker a bit of a break, because like the rental that they have, there's probably somebody making a lot of noise, very loud air conditioning outside their bedroom window, or some type of other loud machine, like somebody's dog barking, or somebody has their stereo on, and that's a neighbor or whatever. So entry level workers do not have that nice, peaceful, suburban, comfortable home that you take for granted that you've had for 20 years, so you are able to get a good rest. Like these people are dealing with crummy, slum like conditions and slum landlords, and they're having to deal with either, a commute, and they're on their feet all day. Things that privileged people don't have to deal with. And I'm not trying to bash people for their abundance. God gave it to you for a reason, but give other people who are just going through hell, because that's what it is. Entry level work is not. It's not anything that would want to do if they had any other choice. It's like they're just trying to survive, and they certainly don't need to be suffocated or have weird chemicals injected into their bodies, and or be bashed for not wanting to do that. So, anyways, all I can say is, Lord help us. Lord Jesus Christ, please return soon, because I don't see things getting any better. But I don't think that bashing the most vulnerable, valuable people. I really think entry level people are the most. They're what in the good light. They make it possible for things. For us to buy our water, or snacks, or basic, like, things we need to survive. So I think we should be kinder and more patient, and be a lot of good entry level workers who are like, I'm not going to kill myself for this. So if you've got a lot of crappy jobs in your community, you gotta make it worth it. So have a reasonable rent. Stop being so greedy and abusive, and provide decent places for people to rent or purchase. But you won't. I mean, it's like, I don't know, and I don't know what landlords and property managers are thinking, but I guess they're getting what they want because they keep having ridiculous rental prices and they keep going up. So I guess it works out for them, or maybe it just works out on paper. So if you really do care about your community and you want it to be lively, uh, you need to confront these property managers and landlords, and I don't know, make some legislation that you can't warehouse empty spaces. It's a residence, and it's not meant to be like a tax write off. I don't even know all the lingo and rationale, but I figure it has to do with taxes and like maybe a tax shelter or something like that. Um, why somebody has property but doesn't rent it out? Because when somebody buys up all the empty um, apartments or buildings or houses, and then they don't rent it out, and then there's like a 0% vacancy rate, and then you want people to work your gas station or grocery store or donut shop or whatever, but there's nowhere for that person to live that's in their price range. I mean, it's very simple. So, and then nobody wants to to have people who are those workers. They don't want to live. They don't want them living in their city. I mean, it's just like you can't have it both ways. And somebody who's working is a good person to have in your neighborhood. So I think there's a lot of classism too, because I think people are like, I don't want to work. I'm a millionaire. I don't want to have a working class person live in my city. I think that's what it is. And then the thing is, what's even more crazy is that millionaire doesn't live there. So, like, they vote against having, uh, low cost housing built, but they're never there. They're always in New York or Aspen or some fancy place, yacht, and then they're and the thing is, like, cities are building houses for millionaires to live. So these millionaires, they visit once a year or something. So again, like, all these places are empty. But then there's zero vacancy. I mean, it's like it's vacant because all the people who have inherited the house, they're living somewhere else in California or something like that, Mexico. Um, so people aren't living there. And then there's people who want to live there but can't get a place. It's just it's ridiculous, and nobody's really paying attention. People do not really care about the practicality of a lively city. It seems to me. Uh, and I don't know. I mean, maybe because everybody's just busy, driving their kids to something or traveling or their Instagram, lifestyle, or running their business or whatever. So they don't care about the city. But if you're going to complain about how things are in your city, just pay attention to the whole picture. Because if you have good housing, because I know I would move somewhere where the housing was good, it was a lively place, nice place. I would, and I could move, and I'm pretty sure other people, even people with families, they would pick up and relocate if there was like a house they could rent in a nice downtown that was like $600, $700. Like, people could, on the dual income, they could do that, and they could raise their family and buy stuff they needed for their children. And I'm like, how are is everybody paying 200, I mean 2,000 or $4,000 a a month for rent and they don't even make that much. I mean, how are people like? Is everybody going into hundreds of thousands of dollars credit card debt just to make ends meet? I mean, I'm guessing that's what's going on, and I guess everybody's just assuming that's what you're supposed to do, just have debts and die with a lot of debt. So I don't think I don't think people should be expected to. So if they, you know, I like we shouldn't bash them for not going to debt. Like we shouldn't bash them, yeah, for not going into debt. So this is a bit of a long ramble, but it's been on my mind. So tell me what you think. Like, does your city have a lot of good vacancies? Are there good places to live for like $500 a month? Single occupancy units. Is there good public transportation? Is there like a restaurant, a laundromat, a library, post office, within walking distance or a reasonable driving distance? Like, are there good places? If so, let me know. And, tell me, are you grateful for your entry level workers that wake up and are at the gas station at 5 in the morning or the bakery at 5 in the morning or that work 24 hours? I love IHOP. I love like other 24-hour gas stations. God bless those people because yeah, you can get some beef jerky or you can get that soda you want or whatever. If you don't charge your credit card or your phone card. I mean, I've done that. Just 2 in the morning, I needed to go get it before I went to go travel or something like that. So 24-hour restaurants and gas stations and just other places that are available 24 hours. I guess like maybe hotel lobbies but God bless them. And God bless like Greyhound desk people that are nice. They are dealing with the toughest population, just ex-convicts and mentally ill people and cognitively impaired people, uh, and just stressed out, sleep deprived people, and it's there. People are taking Greyhound because they're trying to get from here to there, and we have a right to. It shouldn't be like this hellish experience, but that's how it's been. Like I've taken Greyhound since I was 17, 16, and it wasn't a problem, but I would say, as of February 2023, it's like just, uh, they don't take care of the bathrooms. Like they don't, like I've been on buses where they didn't change out the bathroom after our cross country trip. So another 3 days, and you have like already full toilet and I've taken Greyhound multiple times back to Portland where they stop in, I think it's Spokane, and the bathroom's locked, so there's nowhere to go. So like if the bathroom isn't working, then the bathroom at the bus station isn't working because they're trying to keep out the homeless people. But you've paid, you should be able to use the bathroom. Then other times like vending machines at Greyhound aren't working or they aren't stocked, but there's outlets. So they put in however many, how much is it to install like outlets every foot, so that I don't know how many thousands of dollars they did that, but people don't get to buy a beverage, can't get a drink. It's just weird. Like Greyhound is like third world, and I'm sure third world is even worse than um, what I'm describing. But um, actually, no. I bet in the third world, number one, there's probably some place you can go off into the trees and go to the bathroom, or there's going to be somebody who's expecting the bus to arrive, so they'll be selling tamales or street food or something like that. So uh, it's like America, in a lot of ways, is this like desert wasteland. And, when you're in a downtown or you're at a mall, so you have a car and you can get to the mall, yeah, there's all this stuff perhaps, to be bought. But even so, like I went to Iowa and this bus driver was talking up this mall. I was there. There's like 3 people at this mall, and so the malls are dying because people are like, oh well, I'm just gonna order Grubhub, and I don't even have to drive anywhere because driving. People are insane drivers. People are afraid to drive on the road because there's all this reckless driving, and cities aren't protecting the public from reckless drivers unless like there's a crash. Then they're like, oh, I guess we got a deal. But like cities will give you parking tickets. They're like, oh yeah, we're nobody's been harmed, but we're gonna give you parking tickets. Oh, the oops, crazy speeding or whatever. Like it's this anarchy. Like that's what I'm realizing is like, and I don't know if it's been like since 2015, but I've definitely felt like something shifting, like 2008 even. But yeah, I think we have been lured into some type of anarchy, and um, it's just there's a skeleton crew of good people that are keeping things running, and the grace of God, I think, is making it so we still have electricity and running water and the internet and food. But um, yeah, I think, and if you're kind of a bad person, a heartless, thankless, selfish person, you need to stop that and start being a better person, because it's all hands on deck. We all need to do our best and be our best, and stop expecting those who do good to just take care of everything. Like stop being a lazy man boy. Stop being an evil queen bee or wannabe. Like we can't afford this type of antisocial, selfish behavior. I mean, it's ugly and it's demoralizing. And if you want humans to survive, if you want civilization to survive, if you even want Earth to survive, you need to be a good person. Like you need to be a godly person and not all about yourself. Uh, because the this evil agenda that has hypnotized the world and infiltrated all of our infrastructure is it wants to destroy God's creation because it's satanic. Like the evil that's infiltrated everything is satanic, and Satan hates God. Satan resents God and wants to hurt God's feelings by destroying His creation. So unless you're a complete 100% Satanist, if there is any consciousness, like conscientiousness that you have, please help us out. Uh, Try to um, ignore and reject the demons because it's too much. We've got too much to contend with, and you can't just ride on our coattails. And it's the end of the world. It's the end of time. So the sooner you realize where we are in the situation we're in, um, the better. And don't cop out. Don't think, oh, I'm just going to annihilate myself. It's not going to, your existence will continue. And if you haven't found Jesus, you'll end up in hell. So don't do that. Um, just be helpful and try to be understanding, and go from there. So, anyways, this is a long diatribe. Thanks for watching. God bless.